All right, thank you so much for joining us today on Lunch Out Loud Ottawa, number 34. My name is Nick Baczewski.
And I'm Andrew Miller.
Welcome back again.
Thank you. First episode I missed in 33 weeks last week. My teeth are doing great, though. Emergency dental sort of thing, but we're good.
Well, absolutely. So we're the podcast that speaks to the people, places, events, and music that make Ottawa the incredible city that it is. So we are live at the Explorium headquarters down on Morrison Avenue, now out near
900 Morrison. Yep.
There we are, out near the new IKEA. So before we get to Bruce Firestone, why don't we check out Shannon Rose for a little intro for the music this week.
This is Shannon Rose of Shannon Rose and the Thorns. In this episode of Lunch Out Loud, you're hearing Wild Wind, Under the Moon, and If We Come True. We'll be playing in the area at the Branch in Kemptville on July 19th, and again at the Ottawa Folk Festival coming up in September. For more information about where to find our album or see us live, you can visit our website at shannonroseandthethorns.com.
Keep your head up, little one, and troubles leave behind. Don't fall to pieces, little one, this soul has been designed. Ooh, wild wind blows. Ooh, wild wind blows. All your bad dreams, little one, will melt just like a cloud. Keep your good thoughts, little one, when the world gets
So that, of course, was Wild Wind from Shannon Rose and the Thorns. Thank you for that intro, Shannon. So we'll be doing that in the future a lot more with our musical guests. Get to know them a little more personal. So
I like that.
So yeah, it's excellent. So we're here with Bruce Firestone. I first met Bruce Firestone at the Dalhousie Community Association AGM about 2 years ago, and was just blown away. I was so impressed because I didn't. First of all, I didn't even know him. So that was, I can't believe I didn't know you then.
Well, I know, even myself, I mean, a lot of people, you hear the name Bruce Firestone, and it's like, that rings a bell, and you're not quite too sure what. And I think it's because you've had your hand in a few different things.
Let me tell you something, Andrew. when people first meet me and they get to know me a little bit, they say, "Wow, you're actually a nice guy." And I kind of go, "Really? What did you think I was?" So hopefully, I'll fulfill your objectives today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was just impressed with the many accomplishments that you've achieved, and you're always strive to continue doing new things, sharing your knowledge, and always continuously learning. And for me, that's one of the things I love more than ever is always continuously learning, always reading, always trying to expand your knowledge and share that as well.
Well, if I can comment on that, Nick, one thing that you'll find as you get older is you actually never get old until the day you figure you know everything. Mm-hmm. And that's the day you become old. And I know old 30-year-olds, and I know young 80-year-olds.
That's good.
That's a great point. I like that. So you've lived in various cities around the world in many different countries. You've taught in many different schools.
Yeah.
What has Ottawa done to deserve you calling this home?
Oh my God! Well, I was overseas, mainly headquartered in Australia for I think 7 years. I was working in Sydney, Australia, and then I was doing my PhD in Canberra, and really enjoying it. And my dad came down to see me. This was a long time ago now, 82 I think it was, and said he needed some help with some of his business opportunities here in Ottawa, and he just needed help for 6 months. And I said, "Well, Dad, I'm pretty settled here. Our oldest son had been born in Australia, so he's a Canadian and an Australian citizen. And great. If you were thinking about it, those are in my opinion, the two best passports in the world to have.
Absolutely.
Right? Canada and Australia, for sure. And so, just 6 months. So I got back here, I think, in '83, and I've been here ever since.
Right on.
Excellent. And you never thought of moving anywhere else from seeing all these other countries?
Well, I got involved in real estate fairly soon after returning, and one thing led to another. I hired Cyril Leader, who's now the president of the Ottawa Senators, and he was hired, I think, number 3 or 4 for me. He was a CA chartered accountant back then, and we grew that business. And so I think by '92 it went from sort of like a very small business to maybe $120 million a year in sales. And we bought a hockey team, and so I was pretty involved.
That first business that you came back, that was a family-owned business, Terrace Developments?
It was Terrace Investments Limited. That's right. And we had a number of partners there, some of whom were retiring. I mean, people get older, and guess what, 30 years later? That's me. And they get older, they were retiring, not just my dad, but I think Derek Dupre was involved, Ed Bellman, Murray Thompson. I'm forgetting a few of the guys, good guys, and they wanted to move on and do something new and different with their lives as they got to the age I'm at now. So, I was young and I wanted to get involved in real estate, and so I did. We built office buildings and shopping plazas. We did lots of projects. We did Robertson Mews, Robertson House, Briarbrook, Dunrobin Village. So lots of different projects. And then I think it was 87 or 88, I thought, maybe we could do something different. And I had a discussion with Cyril Leader, obviously still with the Sens, and Randy Sexton now with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I said, maybe Ottawa's getting to be big enough that it could have a hockey team. Mm-hmm. And if it was going to have a hockey team, maybe we should be the bidder. And then we went out and bought 600 acres of land, built what is now Canadian Tire Center.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a bit, because I know with people our age, we love, that's an obvious complaint when you're about 6 or 7 beers deep on a
don't admit to anything on the air.
Leafs versus Ottawa. Everybody, well, I'm not the one drinking those, but it's the other people. Yeah. And they're talking about why the hell are we not downtown? So
are you asking me that, or are you going to ask me that
we'll
later?
Talk that
Okay, I gotta. You're the host. I better be quiet now.
Yeah, so what are some favorite areas of town for you and possible activities, because you're working a lot of the time?
Yeah.
What are some favorite activities that Ottawa gets?
Well, there's no question. I mean, if you look at Ottawa, you're 20 minutes to skiing and 20 minutes to any lake that you could want to, and so everyone knows that. But for me, my favorite place I think in the world is Dunrobin Lake. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I've sold some houses out that way.
Yeah, I think you have.
It's amazing how many people don't really know how close Dunrobin is to Ottawa and how great it is out there.
Well, the first time you drive out there, you go, oh my God, it's so far out. And the second time, oh, this isn't too bad.
Well, Canada's creeping further and further towards it, right? So
exactly. So what happened there was it would have been probably 1985. I was walking through the wetlands there, and there was this roaring sound, and I found an artesian well in the middle of the wetlands about 600 meters in from the road. Oh, wow. And I said to my oldest son, I said, I bet you there's an old lake under here. And he said, what do you mean, Dad? And I said, well, let me get an excavator. So I went to see Billy Carson at Carson Cartage. I don't know if you guys know that, but you probably do, Andrew. Yeah. And I said, Billy, can I borrow an excavator? And he said, what for? I said, I think there's a lake underneath our property in Dunrobin, and there's lots of good sand. So he loaned me an excavator, and sure enough, we dug down 25 feet. There's this lake that's 10 or 11,000 years of age, and it was covered in at the end of the last glacier. So that would have been about 10 or 11,000 years ago. So we spent the next 14 or 15 years digging out the lake, and it's unbelievably beautiful. And we populated with largemouth bass and clams, and it's just the most fantastic place. And so, God created it, or nature if you prefer, but I had a hand in it.
But you discovered it.
I had
a nice boardwalk along there?
No, it's just it's an island and a cabin, and literally a cabin in the woods. It's one of my favorite places, probably my favorite place.
Oh, that's amazing.
Excellent. Any other activities? Are you a skier, snowboarder?
Well, I tried snowboarding once, but that's really for younger guys.
I can't do it. I tried.
Oh my God, it's hard. But I ski, I windsurf, I run, I do yoga now with my wife. I think I had some hand in getting the Sens into yoga in 2007 because I hurt my back snow shoveling in 2007, or maybe it was 2006, and my wife said try yoga. She's been doing it since she was a girl, and I thought, yoga might be for girls, for women, not for guys. So I went and I thought, oh my God, this is hard, and it's really good for your core strength and healing and all that good stuff. So I thought this is something that maybe the Sens would benefit from. And so they went to the Stanley Cup Finals that year.
There you go.
There you go. That's why.
That's when I was in Australia. That was great times watching the games at 10 in the morning here, and then going out surfing after. That was
even better. Yeah. I can surf too, by the way.
Yeah,
there you go.
We need more surfing in Ottawa.
Yeah, a little harder.
That might be a bit tricky.
I'm out of that business.
Yeah. What about when you have friends, relatives, possible business partners come to Ottawa? Where do you like to take them?
Well, we do go to Canadian Tire Center.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, it is kind of my favorite place to go, and having had a hand in its design and architecture and its creation, frankly, it's something I really enjoy doing.
Absolutely. So that's good. So I guess one of the main reasons we're here is to talk about what you're doing now in Ottawa, what you're doing for the awesome citizens and entrepreneurs here. And so being at the Explorium offices, we would like to let people know what you're doing with Explorium.
Yeah, well, it's been around for a while. It was incorporated in 2004 when I was teaching at the Sprott School of Business and later at the Telfer School of Management. We wanted to provide a transition for students who were just about to graduate so that they would have a place to go to get some office space, some boardroom space, meeting space, some mentoring. And we didn't really have that. There was a whole group of entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs that were graduating, and, there just didn't seem to be a place for them to go. So we decided to create that ourselves. And so it was started with a board of directors of 3, myself, Todd Jameson, John Callahan, Professor Callahan from the Sprott School. And today it's got a volunteer board of directors. Todd is still serving as his sentence is still ongoing. And so Todd Jameson would be, I guess, in his late 30s now. And we have Peter Hodowitz from Pods, that's portable on-demand storage. We have Scott Williams from Ibero, Larry Poirier from Tuck Brands, and myself, and we have a paid staff here. So we try and do 2 or 3 major events a year. We do Tech Links, which brings together large and small tech companies. We do Bootstrap Awards, which celebrates, self-capitalized startups. And we do lots and lots of mentoring.
Yeah. So you help out a lot with any small business. You're just starting to get off the ground. You guys, it provides the office space. You guys some mentoring. I mean, it's great for anybody thinking of starting something.
They have to get the business model right. They have to capitalize the business. We help them with that. Finding funding. And we want to make sure they've got the tools. The marketing dimension has to be right, because you can't build a business if you need heroic measures to find your first customer. You need to be able to acquire customers in a cost-effective manner. So what we're looking for is not, if somebody wanted to buy a French fry truck and do that, there's nothing wrong with that, but we wouldn't help that startup. Okay. We want these startups to be sustainable and to provide more value for their stakeholders than if you just had a job.
So it's not just somebody with an idea coming in. They have to have a little bit more...
they have to be referred in too. Okay. So you can't just walk in off the street, although you guys did.
Yes, we did. We're good.
I'm just teasing you guys, but refer in is important. So we get referrals from Invest Ottawa, from the universities, from La Cité Collégiale, from Algonquin College, and others, and then we put them through a test. So there's a personality test. They have to create a business model. They have to write a couple of pages, and they have to be interviewed. So we really want to make sure that they're going to create something that's sustainable. And we've had a pretty good track record. We've helped about 170 businesses start up, and most of them still operating.
Some recent successes that some people listening might know.
Well, you heard, or you were talking about before we started Fair Parenting.
Fair Parenting was on CTV Morning Live today.
We've got Synority here and a bunch of others that are here. And they're not just all tech. We have, for example, here we have Empire Deck and Fence, which is started by a student of mine 3 years ago. I guess I could say Siavash Naruzian is the founder there. And he made $300,000 a summer running that business, and now of course it's grown much bigger. But he's out of.
I need a fence guy actually right now.
There you go. Empire Deck and Fence. You can walk about 20 steps and talk to the guys, and it's been a big success. And I never made $300,000 in a summer when I was a student. I don't know about you guys.
No, not me, unfortunately.
No, me neither.
I don't think I would have been a student for much longer at that point.
Well, he got not 1 but 2 degrees. I think chemical engineering and I think a business degree as well, or management degree. And so we've got all kinds of businesses. We've helped pub chains, but they just have to create sustainable businesses. And
Gotcha.
Even a pub chain, you look at a typical pub, a Don Cherry's, Barley Mow, a Buster's. There's anywhere from 35 to 60 people working there. So we think those are pretty important. Not everybody can be a coder.
Yeah, and that's good. So, so what are you seeing these days with entrepreneurs? A changing mindset with entrepreneurs, because
big change.
I know we're seeing and what we've learned from this show.
Yeah.
A lot of people are staying in Ottawa a lot more than leaving to Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver.
Yeah, with the internet
more than ever.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Shopify downtown.
Yeah, Shopify's been a huge factor in this.
Huge factor with keeping.
And I expect them to do at least $1 billion exit, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, geez, that's
it's exciting. So I think there have been changes. I think that NRC and IRAP and SHRED and some of the other programs that are run by the Government of Canada and some by Ontario are really, really good. And, I talked to Tariq Zaid from Select Start Studios, now part of Shopify, and I said to Tariq, how come S3 stayed in Ottawa? It's one of the top mobile shops maybe in the world. Mm-hmm. And he said, the SHRED grants or tax refunds, I guess, and the IRAP grants from NRC were extremely important to getting that startup off the ground and getting them to the stage where they were bought by Shopify. So, I'm not a huge believer in government programs as a general rule, but there's some things that Canada's doing and frankly Ontario's doing that are really impressive.
Anything that Ottawa can do differently that you think?
Well, yeah. How long is this show?
I think long enough for a couple of complaints.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one example. Because I am a real estate guy too, Nick, and I know Andrew you are as well. That it is taking unconscionably long to get projects approved in Ottawa. Yeah. I did one with my youngest son Matthew, Firestone, for Play Value Toys. Doug Jones, Reed Jones, and the family there. Play Value Toys is one of the great Ottawa institutions. They sell high-end toys. And they were just growing fantastically, and most of their growth was coming from internet sales. So retail has changed tremendously from where you would go to Miss Tiggy Winkle's on the third floor of the Rito Center and you buy a Barbie doll or a Lego set, put it under your arm and walk out. There's nothing wrong with that. But Play Value Toys was shipping 24,000-pound high-end structures on semi-trailers to 150 different destinations in North America, including Mexico. And you can't put that on the third floor of the Rito Center. So they bought 4 acres. We helped them find a site. They bought 4 acres on the Queensway at Highway 7, and it took 4 years to get approved. Wow. So that's too long. And that's really you asked me, Nick, what can we do better? That's just not going to wash. It's really holding us back. And it's not just companies like Play Value Toys. A lot of my tech clients, because I'm a real estate guy, I say buy your own building, own your own building, and it's taking a long, long, long time.
Excellent. So that stuff that we've preached as well. So
yeah, sure. Well, this guy here, Andrew must know it.
Even with residential as well, with my clients and everything.
You're too, for sure.
Stuff. So, all right, well, that's halfway through the interview already, and we'll take one break and listen to another song from Shannon Rose and the Thorns. Make sure to go to Folk Fest this year; it's going to be awesome. So after we play all our Blues Fest acts, now we're getting into our Folk Fest acts and some more Arboretum Festival. We're going to be hitting every act in Ottawa by the end of this podcast.
And we'll get some other genres in there too.
We're always other genres. Yeah. And this track's called Under the Moon. We'll be right back with Mr. Bruce Firestone.
Your sweet
so now we're back with Bruce Firestone after another song from Shannon Rose and the Thorns. So, of course, everybody loves talking about the Senators Arena down in
What
Canada.
happened to Alfie?
Yeah, I know. But it's his decision. He's going to live by it. I hope Ottawa just plays way better than Detroit. So he made that decision.
Oh, is Detroit who he ended up going to?
Yeah.
Oh my God, where have you been?
Well, I know. I just heard that he was gone, and
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, did he go to Boston by chance?" No.
Well, I'm sure that was in his mind, but I have to say I have a little bit of a different take on it. I think Daniel wanted to play another year or two without the pressure of being a captain. If you've ever been the captain of a side or captain of a hockey team, there's a lot of pressure, especially in a place like Ottawa, where it's a Canadian city. We're crazy about hockey, and he's been carrying not only the hopes of the team itself and his teammates, but also the entire community for a long time.
Yes.
And I think he just wants to let some of the younger guys
see what it's like.
let Zetterberg be the captain in Detroit. And I'll just go play hockey.
Let's see what it is.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, he's done his. He served his year, 17, I think.
He'll put a bit more fun into his game, and I think that'll
probably. Yeah, and like I said, let the younger guys take over.
Yeah. And Bobby Ryan's a great get. On the way back. So
I wish if Detroit plays the Sens in the Stanley Cup Finals next year, I'm cheering for the Sens. But if I got to say, if Detroit plays any other team, I'll cheer for Detroit.
And I think the crowd here will still give them a standing O.
Well, we'll see about that.
I think they will.
I hope it's
the first week.
I think
we
got
since that happened. I think they will
respect
too.
factor. I agree.
Okay, so quickly in a short, why is it not at LeBreton Flats, and why is the Canadian Tire Center?
Yeah, for those that don't know, Bruce, you obviously played a fairly big hand for
I'm the
getting
founder
the
of the
Senators
Sens.
here.
Yeah. And I get asked that a lot, especially by people who live in Orleans. And, with all due apologies, but I actually went to see Gene Piggott, who was chair of the National Capital Commission back in the day, and I said, Gene, what about LeBreton Flats for the Palladium? Mm-hmm. Which was what it was called back then. Yep. And she said to me, Bruce, do you want the private answer or the public answer? And I said, Gene, are they different? And she said, yeah. I said, well, can I hear both of them? She said, well, the public answer will be, we'll study it. And the private answer is no. And, because the NCC doesn't like to say no to anybody. So they just simply say, we'll study it until one of two things happens. The proponent goes away or he dies. Whichever comes first. Yeah. And, she said, look, Bruce, I'm sure you're going to build a nice arena, but to us it's just a rink. It's a hockey rink. And we would like to keep LeBreton Flats for maybe a new Supreme Court of Canada building or a new museum, which turned out to be the War Museum. And it's really not for a hockey rink, so the answer is no.
Yeah. And I mean, traffic-wise, it would have been...
Yeah, well, one of the things that
would have happened.
That's a strong point, Andrew, because one of the things for sure that Toronto has and Montreal has that we don't have is light rail or subway or metro. Yeah. Like the subway in Toronto can move 20,000 people an hour. The metro in Montreal,
unless it's underwater.
30,000. Yeah. All right. So the subway is about 30,000 people in Toronto, and the metro in Montreal is about 20,000. And OC Transpo, which is a great service, can only move 2,500 people an hour. So if you're going to exit 20,000 people on Scott Street in Ottawa, it's going to take about 8 hours.
Yeah.
And you also said that the above ground parking, if they're trying to accommodate all the people driving along the expressways and everything like that, would kind of create a bottleneck within the structure.
What's the one day of the year when men outnumber women in the Rideau Centre?
St. Patty's Day, was it?
No, it's Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. I was working on that. I was like, when do I shop? Yep, that's Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve happens to be...
St. Patty's Day? I don't know.
Whatever.
They're walking to the bars through the...
Yeah, they might. They outnumber the... no. Okay. So what happens is Christmas Eve happens to be my anniversary as well. I got married Christmas Eve, so, I wouldn't forget, right?
Yeah, that's a good reason.
So there you go. And so I was in Rideau Centre one night a long time ago, Christmas Eve, the place shuts down, and everybody leaves at the same time. Mm-hmm. And if you've got 4 or 5 levels of parking structure, you actually can get gridlock and it can lock down, where you actually can't move. The police actually had to come and they had to say, here, back up about 6 inches, you move 8 inches that way, come forward a foot. And it took about 3 hours to get everybody out because it really locked down. It was total gridlock there. And back in the day when I was talking to Gino Rossetti, who did the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit, where the Detroit Pistons play, he told me you have to have a flat treeless plain with access to a major highway where you can ingress and egress 7,000 cars, and it can't be stacked in 5 or 6 stories. You just can't do it. So the traffic solution required what you see out there. So yeah, if we had a subway or light rail system that can move 20,000 people an hour, you can move Scotiabank Place Canadian Tire Center down to LeBreton Flats or wherever.
Yeah.
And realistically, for development purposes, it was kind of nice having it out there. The land's a little bit cheaper, I was assuming.
Yeah, for sure.
And then growing businesses all around it.
Yeah, well, we had a plan that we called West Terrace, and it's now called the Canada West Concept Plan, and it is starting to come to fruition 20 years later. Mm-hmm. And you've got Minto building Arcadia out there. You've got the Palladium Auto Park. You've got Tangers, I say it right, the Outlet Mall coming. You've got Madame E. Homes building out there, Richcraft. They're all out there. So I think you'll see that Canadian Tire Center will have a context in the next 5 or 10 years, and it will seem more urban.
Yeah, that's good. I'll see that happening. But even in Toronto and Montreal, they have the highways very close by as well.
They do. Yeah,
we don't have that. Do you see the Lansdowne Stadium being a very good idea as well?
I get asked that quite a bit too, and I'm friendly with Roger Greenberg at Minto, and of course Mr. Hunt there with the 67s, and John Ruddy at Trinity, and I've known Bill Shankman since he was a boy at Shankman Corp, and so frankly I do support Lansdowne Live and OSEG, what they're doing, and the reason for that is that I want Lansdowne Park to be a success.
Well, you used to be a part of the Rough Riders, correct?
Exactly. I've tried to help the CFL in the past, and certainly the National Hockey League as well. So I'm hopeful that it'll be an outstanding success. And if anybody can make CFL football in Ottawa work, I believe that's Jeff Hunt. He's a fabulous marketer. He's done a great job with the 67s. And you've got to remember that when people say, well, I'm not sure if this is the best plan, the alternative, I think, was another generation of wasted space.
Exactly.
And cities generally aren't very good at the doing of things. So to bring in a private sector group that is Minto and the 67s and Shankman Corp and Trinity to do stuff makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. How do you feel about the controversy with the name? What are your thoughts on it?
When I heard the Red Blacks, I thought of a rugby team, and it is a rugby kind of feel to it, and I'm going to call them the Reds.
There you go.
I guess they're going with that idea that it built a brand, the All Blacks from New Zealand are a brand.
Fabulous.
So with Red Blacks, he wants to create a brand. And I think I'm fine with that.
But I'm not going to call them. I'll call them the Reds.
Okay,
there you go.
It'll be fine. It'll be fun, regardless.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So another project that you're just completing very shortly before the big launch next year is the writing of the books.
Yeah.
So the Quantum Entity.
Yeah.
So how is that story, and who are those books for?
I've asked myself that question, and my wife has asked me that question.
Yeah.
What are you doing writing? I've never written a novel. I've written, probably several thousand articles over a career.
Mm-hmm. And you had a business newspaper a while
back. Yeah, I started Ottawa Business News, which became Ottawa Business Journal. So, I've had an interest certainly in writing, and I love to write. I think, Nick, you've read some of the blog articles that I've written over the years.
Absolutely. dramatispersonae.org. Incredible blog articles.
Well, it's dramatispersonae.org, which means dramatic person in
That's close. That was close.
That's good.
The other one is eqjournal.org. So those are the two blogs that I tend to write. And I've gotten into Tumblr lately.
Yeah.
So I'm writing a Tumblr blog now and really liking Tumblr. It's a great new social media. So I've always enjoyed writing, but what I decided to do is to try my hand at a really great story, and a long story. It's really long, and it's a trilogy. It's called Quantum Entity. The first book is We Are All One. The second book is American Spring, and the third book, which I'm writing now, is called The Successors. And it's about a group of young people who start a company called Quantum Computing Corp in around the 2050 mark, so I guess 40 years from now. And they have something like an iPhone, I guess you'd say, but it's a little bit different. It's an iPhone that disintermediates carriers. In other words, it's a quantum phone that is quantumly entangled with other phones, and you don't need AT&T, you don't need Rogers, you don't need Verizon. So right away, they're in competition with some very big companies. So that gets them into some trouble. And then the other thing is each of these phones comes with a creature, if you will, on the upside, a surprise on the upside, called a quantum entity, and that's where the trilogy name comes from. And
cool.
These quantum entities are kind of more like your best friend, only they kind of do work for you. And they're
better than a best friend.
Maybe, I don't know. I like best friends too, but they're artificially intelligent creatures. And one of the questions in book 1 that I tackle is, at what point do sufficiently intelligent creatures deserve the full protection of human rights? And can you turn them off like you turn off your teapot or your coffee maker? And the answer is probably not, And so I get into some metaphysical questions. So I'm trying to create some novels that are what I call learning outcome novels, that you'll actually know what it's like after you finish book 1. What it's like to launch a tech company that's kind of Facebook times 10,
Yeah.
So you actually build a business model in the book, and you see these kids struggling to get the business off the ground, and then it becomes really huge, and then it gets into trouble. So that's how it started. But by the time you get to book 3, it's pretty science fiction-y, and it's pretty out there.
Oh, that's cool. That's got to be fun to write, though, either way, right? I mean,
I got to tell you something.
How's the journey been? Yeah,
I'm so glad you asked, because I have to tell you, it's been one of the most fabulous experiences of my life. I always planned to tell the story in book 1 from the point of view of Damien Bell, who's the young physicist who really starts the whole process going. So most of book 1 is told from Damien's point of view, and my plan was to tell book 2 from Ellen Brooks's point of view. That's one of, I guess, the girls who is in the love triangle.
Okay.
And one of the great experiences, and don't take this wrong, you guys, I hope you understand what I'm saying, but one of the great experiences of my life was to, about 2/3 of the way through book 1, I found myself telling the story from Ellen's point of view already. And the reason I was going to do Damien first and Ellen second was I kind of get the guy's point of view.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I could write from a woman's point of view. And then when I was trying to do that, I found it really, really neat. And my wife has noticed in the last 2 years, as I've been struggling with this, that maybe I understand women a little bit better.
Well, that's good. And I was going to say, are any of these characters sort of loosely based on yourself and or those you know?
Well, Damien's a lot smarter than I am, but yeah, you do rope in things that that are from your personal life. It's very personal. I mean, if you ever read book 1, I talked about Dunrobin Lake earlier in your show, and it's in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there is romance in there, and love, and a little bit of sex. Lots of adventure, some action, and when I get to book 3, World War breaks out, and it gets, as I said, a little bit more science fiction in it, and more action scenes. So learning
to like a Skynet Terminator type thing happening, or
there you go. There you go.
Some Philip.
Yeah, I'll just let you finish book 3. So no, I am kind of self-teaching, but I'm really trying to do learning outcomes. So book 1, the learning outcome is how to build a great business. Book 2 is how to bring some cities back to life if they've fallen on tough times. And book 3, I'm going to do something on product management. This small group of people have to build a product to defend themselves against attack, and I'll take people through the steps that go into product management. So you might actually learn something too.
That's great.
Wonderful. So what's next for Bruce Firestone? What do you have planned after, other than the books?
All right. Okay. Well, I certainly enjoy real estate. I do a fair amount of keynote speaking. I enjoy working with the young people here at Explorium, and I've been teaching more overseas. I spent about 10 days in Stockholm teaching the top 60 digital data strategists there, and I'd like to do more of that. But in terms of my writing, I'm going to write another book next year called Urban Nirvana. And that comes back from my real estate background and my architecture and engineering background, and it's another story I want to tell. So I will do some more writing. I'm going to write Urban Nirvana next year, the year after that, Sargasso City, and beyond that, I don't know.
Wonderful. Awesome. So much stuff going on.
Well, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Absolute pleasure.
Well, it was so much fun to be there. Andrew and Nick, you guys are great. I admire what you're doing. I'm going to embed this on a bunch of websites, and I'll send it out to at least 6,000 people.
Perfect.
Wow, man.
All right, do we got any time here to talk about some events happening?
We always do.
Perfect.
Andrew. So I guess I'll just do a run-through of Ottawa Acts at Blues Fest, because we always want people going to the Ottawa Acts. Friday, you got Vecchio at 6 p.m., and then make your way over to Loon Choir at 6:30. They've both been on our show.
Yep.
On Saturday, you got Roberta Bondar at 1, Wicked Mercy at 2, Medi Cayenne Club at 2:45, Fire Belly at 5. So if you're at if you're at Hope Beach Volleyball throughout the day and you're like, wow, it's getting too hot out here, well, you're going to go be outside anyway at Blues Fest, but whatever.
They got they got cold drinks everywhere.
Yeah, just everywhere. Yeah, just go. So make it out there on Saturday. I know I'll be there early.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, you got Monkey Junk at 2:45. They're also doing a CD release show, I think, in September 24th. For their next CD, you got Miss Polygamy at 3, J.W. Jones at 4. So pretty much all bands that we've covered on this show.
Yeah.
So
again, if you haven't heard them, go back on our shows and you can listen to a couple of songs.
Absolutely. Out of those ones we've mentioned, there's definitely going to be one you're gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
I guess other events, the Hope Beach Volleyball Saturday, which is such an incredible time.
Cirque du Soleil's in town. I'll be heading there on Saturday night as well.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Totem,
Are you going to be performing?
Well, I don't know. You might catch me up there.
You're a limber one.
There you go.
Yuck Yucks. I know Yuck Yucks Prescott's having their summer comedy competition for Ottawa comedians, so that's always good to see your up-and-coming comedians. What else do you have?
Grind Party will be at Ritual coming up.
And then at Babylon, you got...
Oh, Babylon is Electric Powwow again.
With a tribe called Red. They were awesome last night. That is absolutely packed. So great to see. Monday, we're going to have... It's just going to be me with 3 other music bloggers. We're going to do a Blues Fest recap. So that'll be a lot of fun to go over everything Blues Fest. I've always wanted to do that, so that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll leave you with one last song from Shannon Rose and the Thorns, If We Come True, and we certainly will. Have a great week. See you next week.
Later.
All right.
Sweet as the warm day on warm skin on warm beginnings. Night falls so easy on warm wind on warmer endings. This will be